Hi, Mikhail. Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much. And how are you doing yourself?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful Thursday morning in New Delhi. So, where are you at
I,
today?
I am in New Zealand and it is afternoon here.
Oh, superb. Are
This
you getting ready for
interesting,
dinner?
I think it's just so fascinating that we can be in two different continents and we can have these conversations. So thank you for being here with me and thank you to our audience today. Thank you for choosing to check in on transformation. Um, this is going to be a series, probably about 5 episodes, at a podcast as both audio and video. So you may be here watching, you may be here listening. Either way, we are here because we want to inspire people.
Yes.
And I met Gaurav a wee while ago, and on Zoom, of course, as you do. And it turned out that we were able to have some really interesting conversations. So then we booked another call, and then we booked another call, and then we booked another call. And then Gaurav said, "Well, why don't we find a topic that we are both really interested in, and then record it and share it with others so other people can benefit from this journey." So that is essentially why we are here today. And the topic we chose was transformation. And you will understand shortly why that is. I'll tell you a little story myself and introduce myself briefly. And then I will hand over to Guru so he can talk a bit about that as well. So transformation is something that is very close to me. So my name is Mikal. I'm originally from Denmark. I've lived the last 30 years here in New Zealand. I have my own family here. And when I was 27, 37 years ago, I had a profound transformational experience in my life. I was a very shy young man, had a good job, good career, but was really withdrawn very much from life and was really lacking in confidence. And somebody sent me on to a weekend course, personal growth kind of course.
Mm.
And I didn't think too much of that. First of all, it was in English, which was not my first language. And it was really, really uncomfortable for me. Right out of my comfort zone of having to speak in front of other people and so on. And when I left that weekend, I did not feel that that was worth my time and money being in that event. Now, come Monday morning, I got back to work, and within the first morning, two people came up to me and said, "What happened to you?" And "Mate, I don't know what you're talking about. Nothing." And I just walked off. Didn't think of it. Then Tuesday morning, the same thing happened. Another two people came up, and that's when it suddenly hit me that my life had actually just been completely transformed.
Mm.
And I didn't have a clue that it had happened. Of course, we can create consciously transformations. We're going to talk about that as well. But my first one as an adult was not a conscious one. I didn't decide to go and transform. It simply happened because there was something within me that was deeply ready for a serious change in my life.
Mm.
So because of that, I spent the next couple of years really diving into that and to understand. I wanted to understand, what is this? How do we create more of this? What is the playground in which transformation takes place? And that has fortunately allowed me to have several major transformations in my life since then. And now, for the last 30 or so years, it has become my passion to support other people in facilitating and creating transformation for other people as a part of the work that I do as a coach. So that's just a quick little introduction from me and my interest in transformation. So I would like to hand over to Gaurav and let him tell us a bit about him and his story.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Mikhail. And so interesting of how sometimes things happen unconsciously, but they leave such a huge impact on your life then you ask for it over and over again, and it's just beautiful of how it unfolds and makes you the person you are. So beautiful for you to share that. Thank you so much. Yeah, so a little about me, guys. I'm Gaurav, born, brought up in New Delhi, India. I've spent a few years in the US, worked there, studied there. I have been an entrepreneur for the last 20 odd years now. Started pretty young. So started at the age of 19 with my entrepreneurial life. It's been a great roller coaster, I must say that, but more good. And, I wouldn't have it any other way. And I think when I was speaking to Mikhail, the reason I got interested in this conversation, because I feel that transformation just does not happen personally. It also happens in different realms of life. And as you go from one age to another, and your life chapter unfolds, you also transform from where you are at one aspect of life and you go into another. And it needs that. Sometimes it needs more than just a change for you to go in and create what you want to create in life. So with that, Mikhail, I'll go back to you, and I'd like to first understand what is transformation for you, and how do you see it. So why don't we dive into that a little bit and go on from there?
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you for your story. I love hearing people's stories. It's always inspiring what people are up to in life and how their lives unfold. Yes, that's a good question. When we talked about doing this, I started asking that question. I even put it out as a poll on LinkedIn and asked wherever I met people, what is transformation? And the interesting thing is I could not get one specific clear answer from anybody that was kind of, okay, so now I know what transformation is. There seems to be so many different ways that people look at that. So I think one thing I want to make clear here, at least from my viewpoint, is that I don't have all the right answers. And I don't have the correct definition of what transformation is. We can look it up in the dictionary and it says one thing. We can look it up on Google and it says something else. So obviously, these conversations is not about finding the right answer to the questions. It's about, for me, exploration. And if you and I can explore these questions, I really encourage you as a listener to explore with us. So listen to the question that Gaurav put forward of what is transformation? What is that to you? Ponder that. And unfortunately, we can't hear you pondering what you're thinking. So it would just be the two of us at this moment in time. So what is transformation? For me, transformation is something, it's a profound shift. It is not just a mere change of one shape to another shape, or one form to another form, or an improvement of something from one level to another level. It is something, it's a complete shift. So like the caterpillar turning into a butterfly, like that's not just a mere change. That's an actual transformation from one thing to something entirely different. And another thing for me is a baby who cannot walk and cannot control its muscles. And then one day there's this big grin on his face and is taking his first step and it is walking. To me, that is a transformation. It's from something into something entirely different.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And to your point, isn't it beautiful that when transformation happens, you reflect back and then you see that what was there and what it is today. And there is no way for you to visualize it, I think, in the future. Like it's very difficult to set up a date and say that I'm going to transform into that, you know? It's
Yeah.
just, it just
Yeah.
won't happen. But when you look back and with certain steps that you take, if you're aware of that concept, then someday it just happens, like a caterpillar will turn into a butterfly or a baby will start walking, and it's a different life. It's just a very different life. So beautiful. And
Mm.
I'd just like to add maybe a personal story to that. So go back 22 years. I was 18, graduated from my high school. Always been in a family, so led a very good childhood and a protected one. So I moved to the US, and this was my first time in the US. I went for my higher ed, and I think just moving out from one comfort zone and the way I was living life, and then into something which was completely new to me, new surroundings, new people. I had no one to really look up to at that point, But
Mm.
those one first year or so, it was just a transformational experience for me and made me who I am today to a larger extent. So I think it also happens when you are put in a situation where sometimes you have no control over, and the surrounding is uh, is it requires that at some point, and you don't even realize, and thus it happens. So absolutely, I think I agree that transformation is not just a mere change and much more beyond. And with that, if I go into one of the other points that I wanted to actually talk about with you, is that do we really want transformation, or is it something which usually just happens without you even knowing it or without you even wanting it, let's say? What are your views on that?
Mm. Um, I think yes on both accounts. And so yes, it seems that transformation is something that happens. And like my story of mine one, it just happened and I didn't even know what was happening. And I don't think the caterpillar particularly know it's going to transform into a butterfly, but suddenly it becomes a butterfly. You had that transformation. And I think you said something really valuable about it. It's in reflection. So this idea of, okay, I'm going to transform on the 31st of May. That day I'm going to try, like, it doesn't seem to happen that way. I can facilitate change on the 31st of May, but it doesn't seem that transformation is something that I can just schedule into my diary. It seems to be something that happens when XYZ is in place. And maybe we can have that as one of our episodes, is looking at what is the XYZ, because if we can get more clarity on what is that playground in which transformation is more likely to happen, then we can nurture the playground, and therefore we are more likely to create transformation, both in our own lives, in our teams, in our businesses. I mean, even in governments. I mean, who would not like a major transformation in our banking system, our political systems, our education systems? So to your question, I think transformation is something that we are naturally longing for, because they happen naturally in nature, and they happen naturally to us human beings as we evolve. So my view is that transformation is a natural phenomenon that human beings crave. And we naturally have them as babies, as toddlers, as young children. But then unfortunately, it seems that because the way we do life in our cultures, we start moving more into, this is the way it's supposed to be. You're going to get this education and get set up for life and do this and do that. And then for these transformations to keep happening, it becomes more and more rare. And for me, that's not healthy. And so the transformation, when I started experiencing transformation, it was such a light bulb moment. I got so excited about it. Like, how can I do more of this? Why would I get that excited about that? And when you were sharing your story, there was an excitement in your voice about that experience in reflection. Why? Like, why is that excitement there around transformation? Like, what are you seeing around that?
No, I absolutely agree, and that's a very interesting and valuable thought that you're putting in. That so my take on that is that transformation does happen naturally, but also it, and as you rightly said, it may require a different conversation of what is that ground that where transformation happens, right? So what does it take? But if we reflect back in the last 3 years, I think the world has transformed. you know, and we were not asking for it.
Mhm,
What has happened? Nobody asked for it, and nobody was ready for it, but it happened. And so does transformation in a lot of sense, of how interpersonal relations happen today, how these communication happens today.
mhm,
And yeah, I mean, there is a lot of bad which has come out of it, but if you come to think about it, there is a lot of good which has come out of it as well, which has just taken us ahead a few years of how we think, do life. So yes, I think transformation does happen a lot naturally, and it's a phenomenon which is going to keep on happening. As they say,
mhm,
the only constant in life is change, and
mhm,
transformation is above change. So beautiful, beautiful.
mhm.
So with that, I want to touch upon on, let's say, why do we need to transform, and what really happens if we do not transform? So
Mm,
do we really need transformation? And since you have so much experience in this subject, and also not just by yourself, but you actually help people understand this subject and coach them for it, it would be great for the audience to hear your views on that.
mm, mm. Thank you. Yeah, I believe, as I said before, I believe that we naturally crave that transformation. And as you said, it happens whether you like it or not. And the situation we've just been through in the last 2.5 or 3 years. So one thing I just thought about when you shared that, I would like to pop in first is um, not always, but often transformation, unfortunately, comes out of pain. So my transformation came out of a complete lack of awareness and a total shyness and a closeness and that pain. And somebody saw that and sent me to this course and said, I think this is going to be good for you. And it was very uncomfortable, but
Yes.
I am eternally grateful to that person. I will never forget that person,
Yes.
what he did for me by putting me in that situation, knowing that I was going to be really uncomfortable. Mm. So I think it's that willingness that we maybe lose a little bit as we get older, that I really want to encourage people to come back to, is the willingness to step in to that unknown and open ourselves up
Hmm.
to this energy. So I believe it's actually an energy, a frequency in life, and life cannot be still.
Hmm.
We're not just turning around the sun. The sun is moving in the galaxy at an incredible speed. So there's movement everywhere.
Hmm.
And I believe that us human beings, we are simply a part of life. So we are simply a part of that movement. And if we are not evolving as human beings, we get frustrated, we get depressed, we get angry. So when Tony Robbins came up with the 6 human needs, that model, and one of those core spiritual needs is contribution and growth. When we are not growing, then we get sick, both
Yeah.
physically and psychologically. So therefore, when we are not transforming, we are starting getting, like the mild version is we just get bored. And then we start doing silly things that we go, oh, that probably wasn't a good idea. Or we get outright depressed or suicidal for some people.
Yeah.
So, and I believe that is the price that we are paying if we are not allowing ourselves to live within that incredible life force
Right.
that life is trying to live through us. And if we are not going with that, then we end up in tension, then we end up in stress, we end up in things starting building inside our body,
Yeah.
whether it's things like cancer and other illnesses that comes out of stress and tension. So I think that, I don't know if that's really answering your question, like in my view again, that we must actually continue to live in that growth. And sometimes it's just change. It's changing a little bit here, changing a little bit there, but accumulated change in reflection suddenly turns into a transformation. And then a year or two down the track, we are suddenly go, wow, I just completely transformed my business. Or my whole business team and the structure has been completely transformed. Wow, when did that happen? Well, it happened by continuously going with that
Right.
pull that I think we have within us. And the short answer to your question from my viewpoint is that if you don't transform, you're going to pay the price in
Yeah.
frustration, boredom, annoyance, or outright depression and anxiety.
Yeah. And just to add to that, Mikhail, I think very nicely put. And just to add to that, while we have all those things which may happen to us if we don't transform, my question or my point to the audience also is that why not? You know, why not transform? If because sometimes there is something so beautiful out there which you may not even know. But if you do not give yourself a chance, if you do not give life a chance, then you just do not know what is out there. And you have to take that risk to dive into that space of transformation for the return to happen. So, I mean, we all know basic economics, right? There is no return without risk. So I think very well point taken, and I'm sure the audience will kind of reflect and dive into this topic after and as we progress into these episodes. So
Yeah.
I like to close this. I know we are about time, but I like to close this with one last point that I want to make, and maybe question I want to put for the two of us here is just transformation just happens for your personal self, or does it go beyond that? It goes to your friends, it goes to your family, it goes to your teams, your business. What are your views on that? Would love to hear.
Yeah, I think that's a great topic for our next episode. Actually, is to go in with that question. What is transformation, and how does it relate to other areas of life? Because for me, it definitely does. Like, one thing, obviously, is personal transformation. You have experienced, I've experienced, and we can share some more stories as we go along. But also, I know you're working particularly with transformation of business teams, and I do that also to some extent, not to the extent that you're doing, but when I work with business cultures and that, it is about creating transformations in teams. And you see a sports team that is not doing too well, and then the right coach just comes along, and suddenly it's like the team just has transformed into a completely different unit. And then they go out and win game after game, and people go, wow, how did that happen? And that
Mhm.
wasn't just a change of a bit of improvement of the players. That often is because there is a transformation of the entire culture. And it is more difficult to change a culture, whether it's a sports culture or whether it's business culture. Sports culture probably a little bit easier because everybody want to win. Everybody is on the same team, and let's go and do the best we can. Whereas with business teams, it becomes tricky, but it is absolutely possible. And I think it will be a really good conversation for our next episode to explore a little bit about how you do that, and see if we can share with those part of our audience that are in teams and are maybe even running businesses, and would like to get some pointer on how we can, or how they can do that. So with that, I just want to really thank you for being here today, and for doing this, and for your great questions. I really appreciate that. And I want to thank our audience for being here today, whether you're watching us and seeing me flaying my hands around here, or whether you're just listening to this as an audio. I hope this has been useful for you, and it's created some inspiration for you to explore this for yourself. And please come back for our next episode and the episodes after that.
Thank you, Mikal. Thanks for your time. It was great having you here, and look forward for our next episode. And just as a closing comment, I would say it's great to get into this topic. I think it means a lot to me, to you, and hopefully the audience too. And just to what Mikal said, I'm absolutely committed to transformation. The reason I'm also here is I'm a founder of one of the business called Joy of Performing, and there we are committed for transformation businesses, and Job helps to catalyze growth for business and people. So to a point that I've taken that commitment from a personal level to a professional level, and it gets me immense joy when I do see businesses transform and reach their potential, and people reach their potential. So with that, we'll dive a little more into this in our next episodes, and we love to have the audience there. So great, Mikal. Hope your evening is great and you enjoy your nice meal with a glass of wine if you can. Take care
I
now.
look forward to that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Cheers.
Catch you in the
Bye.
next episode.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.